expect to go after that guy. That was great. Okay. So why are we here? I'm in green building to do my part to reduce the extent to which we are driving the planet off the cliff environmentally. And I think that many of you in this room can relate to that. I can't say that for people who aren't here, but I think that's true in this room. I did get some really interesting, a news article the other day that just popped up, and it's our 11th slide, so there's no room for it, but I'm just gonna read it to you. Study, climate change may increase price of beer. This is like the best news ever. I think this is the tipping point. Okay. So this event is billed as a way to share, to get inspired, and to reconnect. And we're gonna do all three tonight. I've been to this 10 by 10 by 10. I think this is the 10th time. So that would be the 10 by 10 by 10 by 10 for me. And we're gonna share our project, and more importantly, our unique approach to doing this project. We're gonna try and inspire you as you have inspired us. And lastly, let's reconnect or connect for the first time. If you don't know me, my name is Sloan Ritchie. I'm a developer, contractor, and the founder of Cascade Built. For some context, in addition to this project, we just finished a 35-unit passive house apartment building. We have a 45-unit passive house building we just broke ground on, and other projects on that scale and to that level of sustainability. So if that's of interest to you, come and connect with me later. This is Brad. He and I designed, built, and sold this 10-unit townhouse spec project in Capitol Hill. And we had just finished working on a passive house townhouse project before this, and we decided on this one to use the same inspiration, but not to actually get it certified.
Okay. So hi, my name is Brad Khouri with B&I Architects. Thanks for that generous introduction. It's really a pleasure to be here in front of all of you and to get to talk about a project that we invested a lot more in than I think most folks might on a project of this scale. Driven again by values that Sloan mentioned, wanting to be able to use this in a way as a platform to show what's possible, both in terms of design and execution. So to locate it for you, it's at around 12th and Harrison in Capitol Hill, which is between Broadway and 15th Avenue East, a couple blocks north of East John. This is the project that we certified a couple of years prior, where Sloan was my client. And that led to this conversation about we could actually do this together and take it to another scale potentially. What's interesting about this location, if those of you know those blocks, is the walk score is considered a walker's paradise, 96. It's got great access to transit, it's got good access to bike facilities, and it drove us to do something where we still had to deal with the car because we felt, given that walker's paradise, people are still going to show up with their cars. How did it become a project? The owner actually came to me and said, I want a B9 townhouse on this site, and I want to be able to work with you to sell it when you're finished. We've been approached by lots of people to do lots of other things here, and that's not what we want. So we took to initial thinking about how to take these two 5,000 square foot standard Seattle infill lots and modify them so that we would end up with something that wasn't what Sage briefly described before. We looked at an idea that we had some topography, low and high, knowing that we had a pretty big building behind us. Knowing that we wanted to do something urban with stoops at the street, and then something internal that would be a bit more private and secluded, but shared by all 10 of the owners. But we knew we had to deal with the cars, and we had to deal with the two lots, and so we actually redefined the boundaries to make a kind of yin-yang, two L-shaped lots. That allowed us to put the garage on one, and put the rest of the project on grade. And then through that, began to be able to think about not a kind of regular project, but one that could respond to an unusual set of boundaries and create a space that had a termination and was kind of contained and enclosed. This you're seeing how we tucked the garage underneath the grade here so as to remove any reliance on the car in terms of impacting the project and be able to create a place for people to gather at the center. So that created this very distinctive site plan where you have 5 houses with entrances from the street up stoops. Some are shared, some are individual. And then a walking space into the center of the site for everyone, including the back 5 homes. That's their primary way in. Or the cars go under, and they went deep under, deeper than we thought from the beginning. We had a lot more slope than we imagined when we first took a look at the site. And they pop back out here in the center of the courtyard at grade. And so there's this long kind of meandering space. The lot's 100 foot by 100 feet, so 10,000 square feet. And we created these individual patio spaces that are actually decks, extensions of the interior floor out. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. We're going to pass this back and forth.
So some construction details here. This is a photo taken during construction where you can see we've got sort of standard 2x6 construction back here. We have the exterior rock wool, 2 inches of mineral wool on the exterior with a batten rain screen system and cladding with hardy and cedar for the exterior. Windows are imported from a long way away. They're triple glazed. They're Passive House certified. They're very heavy and a little bit unusual and difficult for the trades, but we still managed. It's a very good wall system. The WRB is back at the structural sheathing at the OSB, so it's a vapor open wall. It keeps the structure warm and dry. It turns out that this system is pretty difficult for most residential trades to handle. Our cider we had to replace in the middle of the project. Let's see, we also used Zender HRVs and Mitsubishi mini splits. As you can see in section here, we created some unusual and interesting conditions, particularly on the south lot where we've got the parking garage below. You see we end up with a PT deck that's both interior and exterior, some slab on grade with the garage going underneath the front 2 units. We wound up with an export of about 4,000 yards of dirt off of this site and some pretty large 15, 20 foot high shoring wall with rakers and so forth. This ended up being a fairly complicated and more of a commercial project than we had initially anticipated. Here are 2 of the units. All the units in this project are unique. None are the same. On the left, this is probably my favorite unit. It's up in the upper corner of the site. We're standing at the landing on level 2, looking down into a double height entry space where there's 2 bedrooms below. The master is on this middle level, and then above is the living, dining, kitchen, and then a roof deck above that. One of the more fun aspects of the project is the stair treads, which we made with laminating paper stone to LVLs. So these are all open risers, as you can kind of tell in this image over here. The townhouse to the right is more standard, living, dining, kitchen on the middle, 2 bedrooms below, and the master above. This is an aerial view after completion. So we got it done, we got it sold. Brad and I have known each other for 10 years or something like that. Quite a while, but we had never done a joint venture before. And we knew that there was a shared set of values. So we decided to do this project using a values-based decision-making. And that's pretty different than most speculative townhouse projects, which are done with copy-paste design and everything as cheap as possible to make it code minimum, and just enough finishes to meet sort of market expectations. But we decided that wouldn't really work for us because it just didn't have enough soul. So this is the project we ended up with. It's a lot more like impact investing, where someone will consider accepting a lower economic return. You still get an economic return, but you'll accept something less in order to deliver something of social or environmental value and fulfilling work.
Okay, go. We saw the 1 minute a moment ago. So we're going to go through the last two slides kind of quickly. The courtyard, this is kind of an opening party that we hosted, and it was great to have people up on decks and down in the courtyard. And I think the last thing I want to point out is that we also had living floors at the ground level, and we opened them up with roll-up garage doors. They were a challenge for us with our environmental goals with the project, but it was a design goal that we had from the beginning, was to get everybody back out. And so we did choose where to invest in both the experience, the sustainable overall sort of value of the project, and then our execution. So thank you so much for having us.